Hello and welcome to the Mum Boss Method podcast. You're getting a cheeky little second episode from me today, or this week even. And that's because I didn't have a meeting with my Last Diet Club local group this week because I have a networking event this evening. So we're not meeting. Just in case you're wondering what I'm talking about, I run a little slimming group in my village with a group of lovely ladies. It's my pushing back against Weight Watchers and Slimming World, and we meet every Wednesday. And the ladies are doing an awesome, awesome job at reaching their goals. Two of them are ready to go into maintenance in come January. One of my amazing ladies has lost over 50 pounds. They're all just doing amazingly, and I'm so proud of them. But I want to make sure that I support them. So every week they do their check-ins, and normally we talk about what's been going on for them when we meet up on a Wednesday. And this week I said to them, okay, I'm not seeing you, so shall I do a little podcast? And why not share it with everyone else? Because there will be lots of things that everyone can learn here. So if you've been listening to me for a while, you'll be used to these kind of check-in podcasts because I used to do these for my at-home ladies. And we're going to start by going through the wins, and then we're going to go through some of the questions. We've got some good questions here. So Ray is trying to stay focused and positive. She's doing a good job of that. Jess has she had an operation. Her wound is healing nicely. She baked a cake, which she hasn't done any baking for a long time, and she loves it. And it is part one of the ridiculous cake that she's got in her head for her son's party at the weekend. Nikki has got through a tough week last week, which presented lots of food and health challenges, and that's all done for another year. Claire managed a walk outside in the rain on Saturday and Sunday. Oh, that horrible weather, Claire, well done. And she also, one of the small little changes she's making for December, which I love this concept of small, well, of course I love the concept of small little changes. I talk about them all the time, but I love this. Okay, so Claire, just like many of you, has got a crazy busy December full of events. And what she's done for December, what she's doing for December, is when she goes for coffee with her hubby, she's switched to a regular skinny latte instead of a large, because those small changes will help her to just manage the month of December, where there are treats and temptation, everything, and she doesn't want to say no to everything. So just making that little change is a brilliant idea, and you can make those little changes as well. So she's already having a skinny latte. If you're having a regular, full fat latte, why not change that to a semi-skimmed or a skinny for the next few weeks? And that will just help you to stay more in line and be able to enjoy some of the temptations and the treats that are around in December guilt-free. So that's great. Really, really well done. Just realized I forgot to turn my other light on. So if you're watching me on YouTube, you will have been watching in the dark. Okay, Leslie felt like it was a week of two halves. So first part of the week, she had lots of meals out. She made apple crumble for pudding when her granddaughter was over, and had lots of chocolate, but she put that all behind her and got back on track on Monday, and she felt like it was really nice to have a structure to get back into. She's had a small procedure, so she has to have some rest until Thursday, so she couldn't get any workouts in yet, but she's looking after herself by eating the right foods. Well done, Leslie. And then Emily had a day out on Saturday. They went to the cinema, they went shopping, they made sensible choice. She made sensible choices, had a small portion of cinema snacks, chose an Americano coffee instead of the usual Christmas themed high calorie coffee, and a donut. And she bought apples as a snack instead of crisps and chocolate. I love that. And I cannot tell you how many of my clients are feeling like walking through Marks and Spencer's food hall is a massive challenge at the moment. And we've, like, so many of us have been talking about this. It's so funny, isn't it? Because Marks and Spencer's have got the branding spot on when it comes to Christmas. Like it is like going, I imagine when kids go through somewhere like Hamleys or a toy shop near Christmas, going through the Marks and Spencer's food hall, that feels like my toy shop. And I think it feels the same for a couple of other people. So let's go through some of the questions and challenges, and as normal, I keep these anonymous. So alcohol consumption has slipped the last 2 weeks, but I know this, I noticed it and I nipped it in the bud and back on track. This is really easy to do at this time of year in particular, and it's really easy for it to slip from, it's just something that you do 1 or 2 times a week, maybe at the weekend, to it's something that's happening 3, 4, 5 times a week. So being aware of it. And I've spoken to this person, and they said it was unnecessary. It wasn't necessary. There was no events. It just was creeping in. So well done. Still struggling with water, and I've been eating really randomly at odd times. Haven't been getting many steps in, but feel like I'm on my feet a lot, and haven't been logging food or ticking off habits on Everfit. The same person said, I need a bit of a daily reminder I think, to try to help me stay on track. Struggling to juggle it all, and that's this part of the struggle this person has. So I'm going to break these down a little bit. I want to start with steps because I've talked to quite a few of my clients about steps in the last week or so. The weather has been horrific. It is dark for more hours than it is light, and I want everyone to stay safe and sickness free. I myself honestly normally wouldn't be bothered going out, I don't think, in the dark, but recently I've really rethought that. In the summer it doesn't matter, it doesn't bother me to go out at 9 p.m, but in the dark, in the cold, it's not pleasant. Last night the dog needed a walk and I waited for my husband to get home. So steps in the winter, some of this we just need to accept. You are not going to get as many steps in at this time of year. It's just not going to be possible. Like I say, even with a dog, unless it's a particularly on foot day, my job is mainly desk based. I teach some classes and stuff, but it's mainly desk based. So I accept that, whereas in the summer it's really easy for me to get 15,000 steps. I'm really pleased with myself if I get 10,000 steps. So you maybe need to look at what's realistic for you, what you normally would do in the nicer weather, and what is realistic for you but still going to push you in the winter. Okay. Struggling with water is also, now because we're talking about water, I need to drink. Struggling with water is something that is really common this time of year as well, because many people don't want to drink cold water in this weather. So don't forget using things like squash to help you drink more. You can include some of your teas and coffees, herbal teas. You could drink things like hot water and lemon. I know some people love like hot squash and stuff like that. So using those things to help you increase your water. If you're eating at really odd times, I would consider the impact of this on you. Is this leaving you with big energy dips in the afternoon? Because remember that whilst food is really important, it's really important we enjoy our food. Food is also fuel. So if you are, leaving big gaps between meals, you might find that you're really dipping. Often also when we don't have a structure to our meals, or we're missing meals, then we get to the evening time and you might think to yourself, oh, I've barely eaten today, so I can eat all of this stuff, and then you end up overeating. I've just had to turn around because my dog's properly got his back to me. He's normally lying on the sofa facing me so that he can watch my every move, but he's got his back to me, so don't know what I've done wrong. But yes, get your making sure that you are eating at in a reasonable schedule so that you're not then getting these massive energy dips or then overeating in the evening. The other thing I would say is if your appetite isn't massive, then just reduce your portion sizes or try little and often. It's really tricky because you want to make sure that you're staying fueled, but also you don't want to make yourself feel ill by forcing food down. And then that final bit around, I haven't been logging food or ticking off habits on the app, and I need a bit of a daily reminder to try and help me stay on track. So what I would say is, for this person specifically, use the community. The app has, the app is your daily reminder. Can you also use reminders on your phone, alarms, things like that to remind you to do stuff? And then habit stack your tracking of your food because you specifically find that useful. Habit stack it. So what can you pre-track ahead of time that you know is going to be the same every week? What can you pre-track? And then how can you get back into some of those routines where you were taking pictures and tracking some of your food? So make it as easy for yourself as possible. Okay, so one of the ladies is struggling with overwhelm, but found that this week's Overwhelm podcast was really, really useful. So if you haven't listened to the Overwhelm podcast, I suggest that you do. I was feeling really overwhelmed last week, and actually recording that podcast was really cathartic to me and really helped me. So please do give it a listen. How to make the winter months more bearable. I hate going to work in the dark and coming home in the dark. Okay, here's the thing, and this is going to sound a little bit of harsh truth and reality, but we live in a country where as soon as, well, not even as soon as the clocks go back, just before the clocks go back, it starts feeling like it's dark all the time. The weather is miserable. We are overjoyed if we see a little bit of blue sky. That's our reality. We can't do anything about it. And a lot of people really dislike that getting up in the dark, going to bed in the going to work in the dark, coming home in the dark. It's really, really difficult. And if you're also having a stressful time at work, and in life in general, it can be really, really challenging. I felt a bit like this a couple of years ago, and I got one of those SAD, those sad lamps, which I still have now, but I just use it in the spare room as a nightlight when my nephew comes over, because I don't need it. But that really helped me in the winter when I was feeling really when I was really struggling with that darkness, just having that on as soon as I got up, and I started my morning routine. The other thing to really think about is how can you make sure you get a bit of outside time when there is daylight? There may not be sunshine, but when there is daylight, okay? Even if it's just 5 minutes of walking around, because even if you went for a walk before work, you're not necessarily going to be walking in the daylight because it's still dark until about 7:30. But getting out into the daylight as early as possible in the day is proven to help lift your mood and will also help your circadian rhythm, help you sleep better in the evening. And some of this is accepting that this is the way things are for us in winter. I mean, honestly, God knows how they do things like this I can't think of the geographical term I want to say, but where is it where there's like no daylight? I don't know, like Norway and places like that, there's barely any daylight in the winter. But this is something that we have to accept. So making sure that there are things that you enjoy and you have to look forward to, so in terms of self-care, are really, really important. So making sure that you've got those things in place and you are doing the things that help you to lift out of this mood. You know, we can be in like quite a low mood because of things that are going on in life, but what we have to remember is our habits are there for a reason. They're not just there for weight loss. You know, getting outside for a walk, eating good food, getting enough rest, managing your stress, drinking water, they're all really important for your mental health as well. So don't allow this mood to stop you from doing those things, because you will then end up in a negative cycle and you'll just perpetuate that negative cycle all the time. So don't let feeling, don't act on your mood, act on the plan, and help yourself to lift out of that mood. You can decide not to feel that way. And I know that sounds silly, but you can. If you listened to my Overwhelm podcast on Saturday, which I know this person did, I said Saturday because I recorded it Saturday. I released it on Monday. But one of the things I decided to do over the weekend was I decided not to be in a grump with my husband because he had me awake because he got in so late on Saturday morning, right? I decided to not be in a grump with him because I knew being in that grump with him all day Saturday would not just ruin his day, but it would ruin Charlie's day and would ruin my day. It wouldn't make me feel better to be in a grump with him. And this is exactly, I would ask you to apply the same logic to how you feel about winter days, right? We can't do anything. You can't change it. You can't change the way the sun sets and rises at this time of year. You can't change what time you're going to work and finishing work, I'm assuming. So you can decide to just accept it for what it is and find good in other things that are going on. And I'm not saying that's easy. I'm saying that's like really, really, really challenging. I get it. Okay. So one of the ladies had quite a challenging week health-wise last week, being spending some time away from home for help with their health, and is finding it a little bit better to get back on track with eating and exercising. And their comment is, I just need motivation, really. And I just want to remind everyone that motivation is a myth. So if you've got to Wednesday and you haven't taken any action on getting any movement in, on fueling your body with nutritious food, don't wait for motivation, because it's not going to come. What I want you to do instead is just take the action. So when you've listened to this, I want you to go and make the next decision count, make the next action count. Do one of your November challenge workouts or a home workout, make a nutritious meal, eat a healthy snack, drink some water, whatever it is, make that decision, that next decision count. Stop waiting for motivation, because it won't turn up. It's unreliable, just like the weather. Okay. Okay. So this is, is this a challenge? What column is this in? Questions or help? So I'm just trying to manage the next month of events. I have my plans and I've decided which events I'll allow myself to let my hair down, just lots of temptation. So with all of my clients over the past few weeks, we've done some planning around the festive season, and we've decided what our absolute feck it or feck yes situations are, occasions, events are. And they're the events that we're not compromising on, we're just going to enjoy. And then the ones around those are the ones where we need to compromise on some things. So remember the strategies. If you're going out for dinner and it's not an absolute yes of a dinner, pick 2 of 4. So you've got starter, main, dessert, alcoholic drink. You only need to have 2 of those. Okay. Stay away from the nibbles, stay away from the canapes. Don't let other people top up your glass, things like that. Going into these situations, remember that you have a plan and decide when you get there. So if it's, for example, drinks, I'm going to this networking event this evening, and there's they call it nibbles and dribbles, right? So they've got drinks and nibbles. And for me, the drinks is a no-brainer. I have a competition on Friday. I can't drink. But I also don't really want to have the nibbles because I know they won't make me feel great the next day. So for me, I am going, having had my dinner, albeit early, because I need to be there at 6. I'm going to have an early dinner. I need to go off and get myself ready soon. Go and have an early dinner, and make sure I'm drinking plenty of water, and I'm not even going to start on the nibbles because it's not worth it to me. I know once I start, I won't be able to stop. So have a plan for each of the situations and go in with that plan. And remember, you're making those decisions for you, not for anyone else. Not because you're bar humbug. You are a person in your own right who is fun and enjoyable to be around in their own right. You don't need a drink, an alcoholic drink, or a Christmassy nibble in order to be fun. But in the same breath, what I'm going to say is, if you decide to change the plans, if you decide to, enjoy this or enjoy that, or eat this or drink that, then own that decision, enjoy what you're doing, draw a line under it and move on. Don't beat yourself up. It's not worth it. Okay, I love this question. And in fact, I might end with this question. Let me do this one, because then I'm going to end on that one. Yeah. Okay. I didn't do my Monday morning live workout as I was busy, but I haven't caught up on it yet. I was so pleased doing 3 workouts last week and 10K steps a day. I feel so much better when I'm consistent. Yes, you feel better in yourself because you are showing up for yourself. You are doing what you said you would do when you're consistent, and it gets you results. And I always say, don't you just wish you could bottle that feeling, because it does make you feel just so much better. So I know this person hasn't caught up on them yet this week. So what I'm going to suggest is that you plan when you are going to do these, and you tell us in the group when you're going to get them done. Okay. And let us hold you accountable. Okay, so final question. What makes your stomach rumble? Does it really mean you're hungry? So there's something called the 7 types of hunger, and I thought we would talk through it now, okay, and because I thought it would be quite a fun thing to do. So you've got 7 different types of hunger, and I'm gonna just talk through all of them now. So number 1 is eye hunger. So obviously we are really stimulated by our sight. So anything that that's like presented that looks nice, like a birthday cake, or I know Emily shared on our WhatsApp chat the little cream cheese bites, like canapé things from Sainsbury's. They look really pretty, they look really delicious. And so if we see something that looks really appetite, that can physiologically make us feel hungry. Okay. And which is why one of the things that I always say is, mindful eating is about looking at your food as well as tasting it. So this is why we shouldn't be distracted. We shouldn't be looking at our phones or the TV while we're eating, because you don't look at your food. So you can see something, it can look tasty, look attractive, and that can make you feel hungry. Then you've got nose hunger. So again, one of the senses. Actually, most of what we think is taste is actually smell. I can smell right now my slow cooker chicken pasta cooking, and it smells really nice, and I'm starting to feel a bit hungry. And our sense of smell, will also lead us to feeling hungry. So in order to make sure we're satisfying that nose hunger, we want to make sure that we are appreciating the smell of our food if our food has a nice smell. Then we've got mouth hunger. So what we think of a taste of as tasty or appealing food is often something that we're socially conditioned, or it's been influenced by our upbringing. So for example, I don't like lamb, I don't like mushrooms. If you were to present me something, even if it looked really pretty, even if it smelt really nice, which I can't imagine that lamb or mushrooms would smell really nice to me, I wouldn't like the taste of it. Okay, so it wouldn't, like, putting that in my mouth would not make me hungry. But we also have, parts of our tongue that need to be satisfied. We have a sweet part of our tongue, a salty part, like an umami part. The things that we enjoy as well. So do you like spicy food, or are you more of a savory person? Do you like garlicky, salty, crunchy things? And mouth hunger can be different depending on culture, right? In some cultures they eat cockroaches. Well, to us that would not be very nice. So making sure that you're also, this is again another part of mindful eating, is really making sure that we're tasting the food. We're not just shoveling it in, giving it a quick chew and swallowing it. You're actually taking time to chew it and taste it. And that also includes like the textures of things in our mouth, because that can really help us to satisfy our mouth hunger. Okay, and then we come on to stomach hunger, right? And a rumbly tummy is one of the main ways that we recognize hunger, but it doesn't necessarily mean that our body needs food, because the hunger cues from the stomach are self-taught and linked to the schedule that we've given or imposed upon ourselves, which is why I talk about, eating in regular intervals, trying to keep that schedule fairly similar every day. So it does take practice to sense when our grumbling stomach means actual hunger. So let me give you an example of this. Most mornings I will eat my breakfast at about 9. Maybe a Wednesday morning's a bit earlier, but about 9. I have my lunch at about 1. I have my dinner at about 6 or 6:30, and then I might have a protein snack at about 7, and then I'm done eating. So sometimes I will wake up and my stomach will rumble. When I don't eat at that time, that's not normal for me. Or I might, so this morning, for example, I had my breakfast, and then I had my breakfast, but it was early because it was a Wednesday. And then at around 9 o'clock, I think I had my breakfast at 8 this morning. And then at around 9 o'clock, my stomach rumbled. And I thought, don't be ridiculous. You've eaten your breakfast and you've eaten a decent amount. But it felt like it was, I felt like I was a little bit hungry. I wasn't. It's just that 9 o'clock is my normal time for eating food. It's also easy to confuse that sensation with things like anxiety or nervousness, and sometimes if we haven't drunk enough as well. So again, thinking about your stomach's cues, thinking about when you're getting a rumbly stomach, has it been 3 to 4 hours since you've eaten? Okay, then it's likely that you're hungry. If it's only been 2 hours since you've eaten, think about, have I had enough protein? Did I eat enough? Am I really hungry? Is there something else? Okay. And a really good way of doing this is thinking about how hungry you are before you eat each meal on a scale of 1 to 10. Cellular hunger, that's when our cells need nutrients. So you might feel irritable, tired, you might get a headache. I get quite shaky and I get quite irritable. It's one of the hardest types of hunger to sense because quite often we've gone past the rumbly stomach stage and you might feel a bit shaky. So when we're babies, we intuitively knew when we needed to eat and what our body was craving. But over time, we lose that ability. And the reason we lose that ability is because food is so readily available to us as an adult, we don't necessarily stick to a specific time schedule of eating. Like I've just said to you that I eat breakfast at 9, lunch at 1, dinner at 6. But with the like increase of snacking food and stuff like that, when I went on my fat loss journey, I ate between all of those meals, and so you kind of lose that schedule. Hunger is a what is the word I'm looking for? My brain fog has been really bad this week. It's a physiological need that we need to meet to keep us alive, right? So as babies get really cross when they're hungry and they want feeding and they cry, and then when we get a bit older and we snack and things like that, we kind of lose this ability to know, right, okay, now I'm hungry on a cellular level. So being more mindful when we're eating, tuning into our hunger cues, trying to keep to that more regular schedule is a really good way of kind of combating that. Then you've got mind hunger. So I talked about this on my last Diet Club call last week, but we've become very anxious eaters. Okay, people are constantly influenced by the current fad diet or the latest guidelines or research papers or what this celebrity's doing. Any of my clients that are listening, I would hope that you're not. But then we're deafened by our inner voice that's telling us that one type of food is good and one type of food is bad. And that can really make it difficult to pick up on our body's natural clues, okay, and cues. So the mind is really difficult to satisfy. It's quite fickle and it will find something new to focus on if the craving isn't satisfied. So you might think this type of hunger, I think, comes from when there's biscuits in the cupboard and you tell yourself, oh, I'm a bit peckish, I'll go and have one of those biscuits, right? That's what I mean by that. When we tell ourselves that we are hungry, but actually we've had no physiological cues for it at all. And then the last one is heart hunger. And this really is emotional eating. This is emotional hunger. So we eat because we are feeling a certain emotion. So we might crave a certain comfort food because we were given it as a child, or because we've associated it in our minds as a treat when we're feeling down. So that could be chocolate, that could be alcohol, all of these things. And often emotional eating boils down to us using food or drink to self-soothe, okay, because we are feeling a strong negative emotion, or it can also be a strong positive emotion, but quite often it's a negative one, and we want to feel safe, we want to feel loved, we want to feel looked after, so we eat to fill a hole, and that hole often can't be satisfied through eating, because to satisfy our heart hunger, actually we need to deal with the emotions that we're feeling at the time, okay. So this comes down to noticing the emotions that you've been feeling just before you're having the urge to snack. And you might find that you have other ways to satisfy them. So, if you're feeling stressed about something and you want to eat, because you're feeling stressed, actually a more positive way of dealing with that stress might be getting 5 minutes of fresh air, right? And if you're listening to this and you want a bit more help on emotional eating, if you go to my website, you will find on the resources tab um, I'm now second guessing myself that it is actually the resources tab, because I recently changed it. Yeah, newsletter and resources. You can find a link to my emotional eating journal and masterclass, and have a look at that, because that will really help you to identify your emotional eating. So I hope that answers your question. You will get a rumbly tummy. It doesn't always necessarily mean you need to eat right now. You know, we've become very, very fearful of feeling hungry, and it's a discomfort, and we will fight against that. But actually, there is a very big difference. Like this morning, I woke up and I felt hungry. And I know I don't need to eat I don't need to eat at 5:30. If I start eating at 5:30, I'm not going to stop all day. But I also know I've eaten enough. So I can push away that feeling until it's breakfast time, because I've learned that hunger does not mean danger. But your brain doesn't know that. Your brain doesn't know the difference. It thinks hunger means danger. So I hope that's really helped. If you're listening to this and you're thinking, wow, Chrissy sounds like she knows what she's talking about, and you would like to know more about how you can work with me, my online group coaching program, The Last Diet Club, the next intake starts on the 8th of January. But up until the end of Black Friday, if you would like to join, you can pay a £49 deposit before Black Friday. You will get access to me and to some resources and support from the 1st of December through to the 7th of January, ready to get you started in the Last Diet Club on the 8th of January, which means that you don't have to throw out December and just think, oh, I'll start again in January. You can actually actively start now. The link to that is in the show notes. I would love to have you join the team. Okay, my loves, have an awesome day. I need to go and put the pasta in my slow cooker and get myself ready for this networking event this evening. Have an awesome one. Speak to you later. Bye bye.